Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Iyun to Lena. And today's simon is Orachayim Simon Peiches. Balkari Mutter B'Kriya Shema. Now, the reason this is brought in Hilchos Kriya Shema is because the Shulchan Aruch says this halacha applies to Kriya Shema also. But from the Gemara and Daf Chav Beis and Brachos, where this Hakanas Ezra really is sourced from a pasuk, it says, "V'hodatam l'vanecha l'nevanecha." You should teach your children Torah, and then it says next to it, Yom Asher Amad Alechem B'Chorev, the day that you stood at Har Sinai. Ma, just like Har Sinai, where your year of rest is V'zeya, you were very fearful. You're in awe of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So too, when you're learning Divrei Torah, when you're teaching Divrei Torah to your children and learning them, you should be in a state of awe and a state of fear. And someone who's a Balkari, someone who's really Siman, is not in a state of fear. He's having a good time. So you can't say learn Divrei Torah there. So the Shulchan Aruch says it's a Kriya Shema, but the Shulchan Aruch says anyway that at the end of the day, technically it's mutter nowadays. You don't have to mavatel. The Gemara says in Brachos Chavit mavatel the Tfilas Ezra. You don't have to be tovel. We pass on the Hurba Meseir Bar Yilai, who says Ein Divrei Torah Mitzkabel and Tuma, Divrei Torah Not Makabel Tuma, and therefore you don't have to go to the mikveh. You don't have to take a shower, even though the Mishnah Berurah says Anshe Maisa. Even nowadays, a lot of men will go to the mikveh every day. Chassidim, not Chassidim, people go to the mikveh every day. It's a minhag people have. Very kadosh people do this. I used to do this almost every day to go to the mikveh. When I tried to go every day to the mikveh for many years in the morning, even when I didn't see Kerry. Now, I want to talk about why it says Balkari, and the whole reason the Gemara refers to the Balkari. Balkari literally means someone who saw semen. Now, there are married people that are together with their wives, and usually they don't see so much of the semen. I mean, it goes into their wife when they do it kalacha. You're not supposed to let out semen outside of your wife. Whether you can let it anally or not is machlos rishonim. Again, of course, Shulchan Aruch is machmer, even though it's pashtus mash from the Gemara that it's okay. But I want to talk more about Balkari includes, and the Gemara talks about this, Ba'onis Baraton, people who let out semen, even they're not married, let out semen. Now, it could be they did it against their will. It happens, a wet dream at night, or it could be they masturbated. Now, if you look at the Shulchan Aruch in Even HaEzer, which talks about Hilchos Ishus, he says this is the worst Avera there is in the world. There's no worse Avera than masturbation. Masturbation is the worst Avera in the world. Because of a Zohar, he doesn't even quote a source in the Gemara. Now, the Gemara does talk about it as a Nida, and Daf Yud Gimel, I believe, talks about it. It says someone who takes his hand to his penis, and even if he doesn't let out Zera, he's considered a Rasha. He's a very bad person. The quote's a Zohar. The Zohar talks about letting out Reikana. It doesn't say Hotzah Zera Livatala, which is the common way we phrase it. You let out Zera Livatala for no reason, right? It's only for a reason if you can make your wife pregnant, or make your wife happy through the midst of Ona. Hotzah Zera Livatala it's not what the Zohar looked up. I looked at the Zohar, and it says Reikana, empty. It doesn't say Batala. Batala is also a word in Aramaic. It doesn't use the word Batala. It's Reikana. And it's clear from the Maisa of Erev Onan, where it talks about in the Torah, Erev Onan were supposedly killed because they didn't want to ruin, the first one, they didn't want to ruin his wife's beauty. So he, Mashchet Arza, that's what it says, it's Mashchet Arza, that he let out the Zara, he was Dash Bifnim, Zara B'chutz. He penetrated his wife, and then when he was ready to ejaculate, he did it on the floor. And his brother likewise, because his brother didn't want to have a Zara, have a child for his brother, because don't yibum, so to speak. So they both did it on the floor. So I'd say like this. I think masturbation is allowed. We're going to have to analyze the Gemara Nida on Yud Gimel to see exactly how I'm going to disprove Gemaras which seemingly contradict what I'm about to say right now. But I think based on the Zohar, which is the source of Shulchan Aruch and Even HaEzer, is its Reikana. If you do it artsa, like exactly the Torah says, you do it on the ground, it's not going to be an enjoyable act of masturbation. It's going to be, an act of kas, of anger. There are ways that you can do it where it'll be enjoyable. And the Torah wants you to do things that are enjoyable. That's the whole purpose of the Torah, to do things that are enjoyable. And not just the Jewish world, but, of course, the Jewish world much less, because from people, a lot of them try to be very careful about masturbation. But in the regular world, almost everybody does this. They don't talk about it so much, but everyone masturbates. Some people more than one time a day, they'll do it. Different places that people do it. But the reason that Tvila and Tisha Kab basically taking a shower, you pour water on your head, basically taking a nice hot shower, is that some of the places that people masturbate and enjoy it would actually be in the shower or in a hot bath or a hot jacuzzi. You would enjoy it more and something like that. That's not called reikana because the zera is going into something's going into the water, either you're showering with, or you're in the jacuzzi with, or you're in a hot bath with. So those wouldn't be reikana. That would be something masturbation would be enjoyable. Like if you did it into something, a towel or something like that. That would be something which would be enjoyable for most people. If you do it arta, it's sort of like kach, sort of like anger. You're not going to really enjoy it. So I think basically when Torah asks you to do it, it talks about reikana. The Zohar talks about it. When you do it empty, you do it in a way that's not enjoyable. You have to do it in a way that's enjoyable. And that's why um, Ezra was masaking Tvila for a Balkari. Balkari is talking about someone not with a woman, right? Because then we're talking about Boel, a Bia. He's talking about, that's on purpose. Most people do it on purpose, masturbation. There's such a guilty conscience that the Yetzer Hara wants to make us. The biggest Yetzer Hara is to tell you that you have to be guilty and think terrible things about this. Because there's nothing wrong with it, really. I believe as long as it's done in the right way. Again, like I explained to someone today, he asked me like who I'm going to vote for in the upcoming Israeli elections. And I told him, ideologically, I'm with Likud. Likud is a secular party. I'm headed by Bibi Netanyahu. But practically, I'm Haredi because I'm married into a Haredi family. I live in a Haredi community over here, so I have to vote for Gimel. It's not worth it to me. It's a small thing, just who you vote for. Who really cares? It's just 9 million people voting over here. But who really cares? I'm not gonna risk my marriage or risk being shunned from the community, even though if they heard this, they might shun me from the community, just for the sake of a vote. However, ideologically, de jure, right? There's de facto and de jure. De jure, I really believe in voting for Likud. And I'm going to use the same terminology over here that ideologically, I'm not a rabbi. Ideologically, I believe that it's okay. De facto, according to halacha, it's probably not okay. It's for sure not okay. According to the Shulchan Aruch, it's the worst thing you can do. But I'm giving you my own thoughts. This is Iyun to Leon. These are my own thoughts. I'm not a rabbi. Don't paskin based on what I'm saying. But these are my thoughts. I think it's mutter. And I think the whole reason that it's associated with Tvila and Tisha Kabin, the Gemara talks about, these were things that, and it's like as far I was saying before, the reason Divrei Torah, because Divrei Torah is not Kriyash, but Divrei Torah is Torah Shabbal Peh. You're supposed to learn and teach your children and think about it. Also, you're supposed to do Cheshbon and Nefesh. You're supposed to be, when you're doing Cheshbon and Nefesh, when you're thinking about how to act and making decisions, you got to be in a state of fear. You got to make the right decision. When you're enjoying yourself, when you're about caring, you're allowed to masturbate, I believe. So when you're doing those things, you're usher with Divrei Torah. You shouldn't be engaged in Divrei Torah. And the whole reason that it talks about Tvila, going to a mikvah, and Tisha Kab, and these things after you do it, meaning if you do it afterwards or even during those things, while taking a shower, in a hot bath, those things would be enjoyable. That's a way of doing it, making it enjoyable. So do it in those situations, and then go for the tefillah and stay in there a little after. It doesn't, after it's over, you can still relax in the hot bath or your shower, and that's basically where tefillah and Tisha Kabin comes in, because it's enjoyable. These are ways of doing it in an enjoyable way. That's what I believe. You shouldn't learn Divrei Torah when you're doing this, because when you're enjoying yourself, you should be enjoying yourself. When you're doing Divrei Torah, right, then in the rest of the time in your life, when it's hard, you have to make decisions. You should be focusing on those decisions and making the right decisions. When you get time to relax, you should relax and enjoy yourself. That's what I have to say about this. I wonder if, people hear this, I'm sure the reactions will be pretty crazy if people, a lot of people actually heard what I'm saying right now. I don't know if one day people will actually listen to this share a lot, but probably get me in a lot of trouble, a lot of rabbonim, a lot of not sure rabbonim, a lot of Jews, but it's what I believe. I'm saying it's my opinion. I'm allowed to say this. You're right. There's Gemaras that seem otherwise, but I would say all those Gemaras are talking about you're doing it in an unenjoyable way. In an enjoyable way, I think it's completely mutter and recommended. See you in the next one.